This is Numbers 35. Israel still camped in the plain of the Jordan River near the north end of the Dead Sea. About 5 miles on the other side of the river sits Jericho. Numbers 35, verse 1. Yahweh spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho, saying, Command the children of Israel to give the Levites cities to dwell in out of their inheritance. You shall give pasture lands for the cities around them to the Levites. They shall have cities to dwell in. Their pasture lands shall be for their livestock and for their possessions and for all their animals. The pasture lands of the cities which you shall give to the Levites shall be from the wall of the city and outward 1,000 cubits around it. You shall measure around the city for the east side 2,000 cubits, and for the south side 2,000 cubits, and for the west side 2,000 cubits, and for the north side 2,000 cubits, the city being in the middle. This shall be the pasture lands of their cities. Comment: They've already divided the land on the east side of the river between 2.5 tribes, and Yahweh's told them how they should go about dividing the land on the west side of the river to the 9.5 tribes. That takes care of 12 tribes. Now he addresses where Levi should live. Verse 2, he says to give Levi cities scattered throughout Israel on both sides of the river. Yahweh's honoring Jacob's deathbed pronouncement by scattering Levi in Israel. Furthermore, Yahweh tells Moses, verses 3 through 5, Israel shall grant Levi the land around their city walls to a distance of 3,000 feet from the wall. Verses 4 and 5, there will be an inner ring of land from the wall to 1,500 feet outside the wall, and an outer ring from 1,500 feet to 3,000 feet. Why 2 rings? Perhaps they're for 2 different uses, one for being open pasture land for common use, and the other being for gardening land. See Jeremiah 32:7 and Leviticus 25:34. Verse 6, The cities which you shall give to the Levites, they shall be the 6 cities of refuge, which you shall give for the manslayer to flee to. Besides them you shall give 42 cities. All the cities which you shall give to the Levites shall be 48 cities together with their pasture lands. Comment: Verse 7, Levi will get 48 cities altogether scattered throughout Israel. 6 of these will be cities of refuge. The cities of refuge are for accidental manslayers. Moses gave an example of a man using an axe, where the axe head flew off and killed a bystander, Deuteronomy 19:5. Such a person who might kill someone accidentally and completely without intent would be able to flee to a city of refuge. Lots more details about murder and manslaughter coming up. Verse 8, Concerning the cities which you shall give of the possession of the children of Israel, from the many you shall take many, and from the few you shall take few. Everyone according to his inheritance which he inherits shall give some of his cities to the Levites. Comment: Larger tribes will provide more cities to the Levites, and smaller tribes less. This means a tribe of average size will provide 4 cities to the Levites. Verse 9, Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and tell them, When you pass over the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall appoint for yourselves cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the manslayer who kills any person unwittingly may flee there. Comment: The cities of refuge aren't for anyone who murders with intent. These shall surely be put to death, Exodus 21:12 and Leviticus 24:17. Even if the murderer runs to the altar and clings to it, he should be removed from there and put to death, Exodus 21:14. Verse 12, The city shall be for refuge from the avenger, that the manslayer not die until he stands before the congregation for judgment. Comment: If the suspect wants a trial, he better run straight to a city of refuge and turn himself in. If he's negligent about turning himself in, he's not safe from the avenger. Avenger is Hebrew goel, which is from the verb gaal, which means to be near of kin. So the avenger is a kinsman of the murdered person. More about the avenger coming later. Verse 13, The cities which you shall give shall be for you 6 cities of refuge. You shall give 3 cities beyond the Jordan, and you shall give 3 cities in the land of Canaan. They shall be cities of refuge. Comment: There will be 3 cities on each side of the Jordan River. Joshua 21, these will wind up being somewhat evenly spaced from north to south. Verse 15, For the children of Israel and for the stranger and for the foreigner living among them shall these 6 cities be for refuge, that everyone who kills any person unwittingly may flee there. But if he struck him with an instrument of iron so that he died, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. If he struck him with a stone in the hand, by which a man may die, and he died, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. Or if he struck him with a weapon of wood in the hand, by which a man may die, and he died, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. Comment: if the suspect used a potentially lethal instrument, it was an accidental. There's no refuge for him. He shall surely be put to death. Verse 19, the avenger of blood shall himself put the murderer to death. When he meets him, he shall put him to death. Comment: the avenger of blood, or the kinsman avenger, has no choice. When he meets the killer, he shall put him to death. It's his solemn duty and obligation, Leviticus 24:17. He's Yahweh's official executioner. He must act on Yahweh's behalf and execute the murderer. The following situations support intent. Verse 20, if he shoved him out of hatred or hurled something at him lying in wait so that he died, or in hostility struck him with his hand so that he died, he who struck him shall surely be put to death. He is a murderer. The avenger of blood shall put the murderer to death when he meets him. Comment: hatred, hostility, and premeditation establish intent. Now for the case of death where there was no hostility, premeditation, enmity, or intention, verse 22. But if he shoved him suddenly without hostility, or hurled on him anything without lying in wait, or with any stone by which a man may die, not seeing him, and cast it on him so that he died, and he was not his enemy, neither sought his harm, then the congregation shall judge between the striker and the avenger of blood according to these ordinances. Comment: verse 22, if there was lack of hostility, lack of premeditation, and there was no lethal instrument, this establishes lack of intent. Verse 23, if the offender didn't see that someone was in harm's way, it was accidental. Verse 24, the judge shall use these ordinances to establish intent or lack thereof. What shall be done with a man who kills unintentionally? Verse 25, the congregation shall deliver the manslayer out of the hand of the avenger of blood, and the congregation shall restore him to his city of refuge where he had fled. He shall dwell therein until the death of the high priest, who was anointed with the holy oil. But if the manslayer shall at any time go beyond the border of his city of refuge where he flees, and the avenger of blood finds him outside of the border of his city of refuge, and the avenger of blood kills the manslayer, he shall not be guilty of blood, because he should have remained in his city of refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the manslayer shall return into the land of his possession. Comment: verse 25, if the killing lacked intent, the congregation shall deliver the manslayer to a city of refuge. If he stays there, he's safe from the avenger. But, verse 26 and 27, if the manslayer wanders out of the city, the avenger can kill him. Verse 28, when the high priest passes away, however long that may take, the manslayer can leave the city of refuge and go home. The avenger has no right to kill him anymore. Verse 29, these things shall be a statute and ordinance to you throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Whoever kills any person, the murderer shall be slain based on the testimony of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify alone against any person so that he dies. Comment: no one shall be put to death based on the testimony of just one witness. But if there are 2 or more witnesses, the murderer shall surely be put to death. Verse 31, moreover, you shall take no ransom for the life of a murderer who is guilty of death. He shall surely be put to death. You shall take no ransom for him who has fled to his city of refuge, that he may come again to dwell in the land until after the death of the priest. Comment: no one can buy his way out of murder, and no manslayer who killed unintentionally can buy his way out of a city of refuge. Verse 33, so you shall not pollute the land where you live, for blood pollutes the land. No atonement can be made for the land for the blood that is shed in it, but by the blood of him who shed it. You shall not defile the land which you inhabit, where I dwell, for I, Yahweh, dwell among the children of Israel. Comment: verse 33, blood pollutes the land. Genesis 6:13, Yahweh destroyed the earth in the days of Noah largely because of violence. Genesis 9 verses 5 and 6, immediately after the flood, Yahweh said, quote, I will surely require accounting for your life's blood. At the hand of man, even at the hand of every man's brother, I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, his blood will be shed by man, for God made man in his own image. End quote. So now, at the hand of the avenger, Yahweh requires blood for blood, just as he told Noah after the flood. Speaking of blood polluting the ground, Abel's blood cried to Yahweh from the ground, Genesis 4:10. Leviticus 18:28, Israel should not pollute the land, or the land will vomit them out, just as it's about to vomit the Canaanites out. In verse 33 that we just read, there is no atonement for a land polluted by blood, except by the blood of him who shed it. Numbers 36 is next at landofhavilah.net. Numbers 36.